necessarily approach things as John Kramer does, but the thing I can say about him is that he doesn't make the mistake that most of us make, which is that we complain a lot about things and do nothing. And he doesn't do that. He has a point of view and an approach, and whether you agree with him or you don't, well, that's up to you to decide, not me. I just play him and become him.
I think that, none of us appreciate. I mean, I'm at home with my kids every day, and you get annoyed with each other, and then I get on a plane to go to Manchester, and it's like just getting the idea of leaving them and getting on a plane. It's like I appreciate, it's nerve-wracking, and then I have that thought of why isn't every moment of every day like that? Because you never know. And so if you read about the monks, they're contemplating their death, praying for the dead, contemplating the death. Sometimes they have the casket up, they're looking great, because they always want that presence in their mind, the reality of that. Whereas most of the time they're just kind of going around in this delusion it's never going to end, I'm not bringing anything down here, shamrocking us all, but it just blows my mind in those moments where why don't we appreciate? There's so much to appreciate. And we go around complaining, bickering, and arguing. It's insane.
If I can add one thing, I've recently learned that we do take things for granted and forget, but if you learn to forgive, it leads you to getting rid of your anger. And if you can truly forgive and get rid of your anger, you can live a life a little bit more clearly and peacefully and not take things for granted. I believe that's a true thing that people can practice.
It's a pretty radical therapy. Forgive somebody.
You might avoid therapy if you forgive and get rid of your anger. It might stop you from visiting too many doctors if possible. But you've got to mean it.
Hey, my question's for Tobin. How was it to get in the mindset of John Kramer? Was it method acting or was it a bit more to it?
It's a combination of different things. But the first thing that comes to my mind is that John is a very technical guy. He's a mechanical engineer by training. He studies philosophy and theology, and he's interested in music and Shakespeare. And he just has a host of interests, but mostly he's a very technical guy. So I approach him very technically. Frankly, that's what I do. I approach him the same way I do any character. I ask myself a whole lot of questions about what does he mean by what he says. And if I were going to say that myself in my own words, how would I say it? So yeah, there's some method approach to what I do, but do I take him home with me? No. But the first thing that comes to my mind is he's a technical guy, and he analyzes things in a very clinical, technical way, and so do I.
Follow up on that. When you evolve the character over several movies, how much of that is Tobin, the actor? How much of it is on the page, and how much of it is brought to you in collaboration with your character?
It's largely a collaboration. We get a script, and sometimes the script is incomplete, and sometimes between the directors and the producers and the actors, we go over the material and we say, no. So writers often can tell you where they want to go, but they don't quite know how to get there. So it's up to the actors to find a way that is more natural and more real, makes something feel like it's happening for the first time. So it is definitely a collaboration. That's what film is. It's a team effort, and the Saw films have definitely been that. The producers have been very wise to let go and let the actors help bring out the human side of the characters. Because in the midst of all of the pain and suffering and violence and all of that, in the absence of understanding where the people are coming from or being able to relate to that, it's a vacuous experience.
Got a question over this side? Hello there. I was just wondering, the films, there's a lot of different sectors, a lot of like quite horrific stuff that goes in. Is there any time you get to the scene and think, I can't physically do this, or I don't have the mental kind of willpower to get through this?
About a week before you film the needle pit scene, you have that conversation. That was the hardest part of that scene. It's like the week before, 2 weeks before, the day before. Once I was in there, I was fine. Yeah.
As far as seeing, it's personally, that was really hard to watch and obviously hard to do. But I think that we're in a position where I think of it like this: it doesn't matter what I think, it doesn't matter what I feel. I have to attack the problem and get it done. So whatever it takes.
Do you in any way admire John Kramer as a persona, as a character? Or is it so far beyond what any of us can or should admire that it's kind of off the grid?
I admire two things about him. I admire his skill as an architect and as a mechanical engineer. His commitment.
Just got a question?
If you could be friends with any of the horror movies you like, who would it be and why?
Just repeat that, sorry.
If you could be friends with any of the horror movies you like, who would it be and why?
If you could be friends with any other horror villain, who would it be and why?
I think of Bela Lugosi as the original Dracula. Woo! I just found him to be an intriguing man. I'd love to hang out with him and see what he was doing and thinking and feel a bit of his magic.
I would be friends with Robert Englund because met him a couple of times and he's a swell guy. But I have not seen him as Tobin.
I've got a drawing for Tobin. I'll be able to see it.
She's done Tobin a drawing of I'll pass it away.
I remember when I was very little, I saw some movie. I was the youngest, so there was always inappropriate stuff on the TV. And there was some old horror movie with chopped off heads flying around the house. It scared the crap out of me. And I had recurring nightmares. Aww. That's lovely.
Nice work.
And the very last nightmare I had of them, they were throwing me a birthday party. So I made friends with them and reconciled it, and I wasn't tormented anymore, but that lasted for a while. So I was happy to make friends with them. Several heads floating about.
One of the questions that horror actors, one of the questions that actors who have had a success in horror movies are asked is whether they're horror fans. So whether they grew up watching horror movies, do they read Edgar Allan Poe, Stephen King, whatever it might be. And if they do, does that have a bearing on the work that they're doing? Or is it entirely separate from...
God, I was tormented because I was the youngest. So there was like the Exorcist, there was the Amityville Horror. I mean, like during the time where the scariest movie, you know, Halloween, Friday the 13th, all that stuff, and I was just little. So now, I don't like to be scared. Like, I get mad when I get scared. Probably because I was so traumatized little by those. I mean, those were scary movies.
The Wicked Witch of the West. Made a very big impression on me. In the film The Wizard of Oz. Thank you. And those flying munchkins. So I'm dating myself. She's talking about the 80s and the 70s, and I'm talking about the 50s and 60s. Without a scary person in the film kind of be lopsided. So I particularly liked her. I thought she did an amazing job.
I remember a movie called The Fearless Vampire Killers. Does anybody remember that film? There was a scene in the middle of the night where all the vampires started coming out of their graves. And some people up in the castle were looking at them. It was weird and crazy. And some of the women had negligees on, I remember. And I was confused. Am I supposed to be scared? Or do I want to join this party at 12 years of age? But that movie, I remember, was really creepy and weird and kind of sexy and scary at the same time. Therapy.
Hi. Nice to meet you and thanks for coming. Do you have any funny moments to share, please?
I tormented the director, Darren Bowsman. He had this thing about boiled eggs, and he was really kind of stuck up about it, like, no boiled eggs on the set. Listen, you spoiled brat. I got a bunch of boiled eggs, and I crushed them up, and I stuck them, and we have like director's chairs, you sit on, and they have little side pouches. Well, I smashed it way down low in the side pouch, so it's over days. He's like, where's that smell? I smell it. I said, Darren, there's no eggs on the set. You're so pushy, you won't allow it. I smell it, I know. He finally discovered him. It's pretty good. Tormenting. Darren Bowsman is pretty fun.
We were asked before whether the script evolves over time. I had never met Donnie Wahlberg before, and we had 8 days, 9 days before we actually had to shoot our scenes in Saw 2. All my scenes were with him in Saw 2. And a little behind the scenes moment, we go over we meet on the set, on the Saw 2 set, and we are looking at the script together, trying to explore it. And we go through the first few lines, and Donnie looks at me and he says, I'd never fucking say that. And so, what would you say? and he'd say, I'd say, fuck you. I'd say, all right, so let's start there. And so that's how Saw 2 developed. We were concerned in Saw 2 that the studio, Lionsgate, would not be excited about the fact that all my part and Johnny's part revolved the two guys talking across the table. That's not very scary. But we were able to develop dialogue in such a way that there was a lot of tension going on between us. And that was all that was necessary.
Those things are awesome.
If you could recast yourself as a different character in the Saw franchise, who would you be and why?
Recast? If I could recast myself? Oh, hell no. I wouldn't be anyone else. Would you?
I wouldn't want to be anyone else, but you know what? To live in Jigsaw's body for a day would be cool.
It would be fun to be in Amanda's body for a day.
What about the excitement? When you're when you've completed one film and you don't
Things might have gotten complicated had we lived. Clearly.
When you've completed one film and you don't know whether you're going to be in the next film, are you excited when you're contracted, thinking about Hoffman here, to see where the character's going to go? Because you stop at a given point, the writers go away, they work on the script, they evolve the character, really, they evolve the character. When that script lands on your door and you're reading it for the first time, are you as excited as all of us to know where you're going to
It's
go?
pretty exciting.
They were always very secretive and protective of their script, and I appreciated that. So it was always a big surprise for us as well. So I'm glad that you got a kick out of it. You got surprised also.
Also, by a certain point in the development of the franchise, the writers, producers knew that once they parted with that script, that it was going to get changed and refined and tightened up by the actors. And so, yeah, that process was always a very marvelously creative time. We were very lucky to be working with a team that recognized the necessity of doing that.
And it was kind of good to have the confines of the time limit, right? Because every Halloween would be a new. So you didn't have time to think about it all too much. You had to, just sit in there and make it happen. Everybody did. And it's kind of usually more freedom within the confines than having all the time and all the money. Kind of simplifies the process.
Do you get any opportunity at all to bring yourselves to it, to improvise, to change lines, to rewrite, to alter?
We do a lot of that.
Yeah. So how much is the chemistry of the set that the actors working together?
It's pretty critical. It was a big part of the process of 2 and 3 for sure.
It's very hard for writers to kill their babies. They get to liking certain things. And so when artists come in and change that, it's difficult for them. And writing is a very, very difficult, and I have great respect and admiration for writers because every kind of writer, including copywriters for advertising, it's a very delicate skill. And so when people come in and want to change what you've done, hopefully they have a better idea. And it's a great writer who can go, that's better. Let's do that.
Hi guys, so following on from that question, at the end of Saw 3, when did you know that, do you plan ahead the scenes? So straight after Saw 3 finished filming, did you jump into the scene and go straight into number 4 and film scenes for the 4th one as a potential pickup in case the movie went to a 4th film? Do you get what I mean? So when Saw 3 finished,
Didn't they film some of Saw 4 at the end of Saw 3?
Yeah, so do you continue the film afterwards as a pickup to the next film? So you film them scenes?
Didn't you film scenes for 4?
I think when they had the sick room set up in Saw 3, and I was on the gurney, I feel like they had you come in at some point I think largely because they weren't sure if they were going to rebuild that set again. And so I think they brought Detective Hoffman in the moments after, when they discover the crime scene. And I think they brought Costas in at that point.
Good question. I think you're right. And they have the choices to bring things from before and after certain places to sort of join things up. So I think you're right. There was a few moments.
But the larger answer to your question is no, because these guys, the people who produce these films, generally did not know where they were, but they wanted to see how the audience related to the existing film before they made any decisions about what they were going to do in the next film. They may have been thinking about the budget, they may have been thinking about if they did do another one location, but I don't think in terms of, they didn't shoot things previously because they didn't know what they were going to do. And until the audience related to the film and they had some sense of how fans felt, they didn't do anything that moved us forward.
Hi, I just wanted to ask how you all got along during day-to-day filming. Was there any personality clashes? Did you all get along?
Our sets were pretty delightfully free. There's usually that one person, I've worked with great people, I've been super lucky, but many times it just takes one kind of jerk off to throw them, but I don't remember any of those. You kind of tell them to come to these things without bothering them.
It was pretty harmonious environment. To be honest with you, and I can tell you something else. There are films that get made that have horrible fights and relationships on set. And it's well known that people didn't get along, and people were at loggerheads about all kinds of things, and the films are wonderful. The result is wonderful. And then there are other films that are extremely harmonious, and everyone loves each other, and the ultimate product is crap. So, because you have a nice harmonious environment does not necessarily mean you're going to get a good product.
It's just a better day at work.
We've got 5 minutes left, so if there's anyone got any questions, please throw your hands up now.
For all of you, what was the moment when the penny dropped and you realised that the first film, was morphing into something bigger, and the Jigsaw character, the John Kramer character, was becoming, you mentioned Robert Englund, it was becoming a Freddy Krueger, it was becoming a Jason, it was becoming a Michael Myers. Tobin, for you, when did that awareness happen?
I still don't think of anything to do with that. By that I mean becoming a Michael Myers or what some people refer to as a horror icon. That all happens out there somewhere. That's not what we do. What we do is on the set, in the moments, and the rest of that takes place out in the world. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But we continue to do what we do, which is approach every role with as much enthusiasm as we can, and try to continue to be as creative as we can. That's an answer to the part of your question that talks about Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger and Jigsaw and all of that. That happens on another planet for me. And I always knew that John Kramer was lying on the floor in Saw 1 in the middle of two guys. So he was kind of a fulcrum to a seesaw. He was physically located in the middle. And Saw 1 was kind of a Waiting for Godot story about three guys locked in a room. And John was in the middle. He was silent until he got up, but he was in the middle. And then Saw 1 opened up and it did very well. And I was in the Czech Republic doing a television series, and I got the script for Saw 2. And I was like, okay, good. Now I can do some of what I suggested to James Wan when I first met him, which is we don't know what's going on inside this guy's head. So that's when we began to develop Saw 2, and when we knew that, but none of us, I don't think, knew it was going to become 3 and 4 and 5 and all of that.
And we just got a literature lesson. That was awesome.
And we'll literally run out of time, so our last question.
I feel very privileged. This is a really serious question. Do you have a
Don't believe you.
I know it's not. What is your favorite British food or drink that you can't get back in the States?
And my ex-husband loves Marmite. And I saw it, and it's in the hotel, and I said, oh, I remember that stuff tastes awful. And I tasted it again. Oh, it tastes awful. But it was like his childhood. Marmite.
Marmite traps.
Marmite.
My mom was from Twickenham. She was raised there, and she brought Marmite to the States with her, and it used to end up on my bread and butter all the time. So I'm familiar with Marmite.
Mother, there's something in it that mothers feel good about giving their kids, maybe iron or something. It tastes very irony. Anyway, I love chips and curry at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
With all the half-naked women, no coats, nothing. It's so tough.
We ask our guests if they'll indulge us to do an on-stage selfie. So if you'll do it, if you want to be in the selfie, you need to get to the front of the stage and we'll try it. Ben, you ought to do it, Sam Rubbish.
Can I say one thing, please? Everybody, you're very well behaved. This audience is very smart, but very quiet. Can everybody in unison, just one time at the count of 3, say, game over for us? Yes? All together, scream it, please. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Game over!
That felt good.
You guys are